What's something you've done that deserved credit but no one gave it to you? I wrote a Perl script that saved my company $10 million when the electric company dug up our data lines. We were able to continue production for 17 hours and keep the Jeep plant running with no interruption. It wasn't even my job to write that script, I just saw the potential emergency situation and decided to do something about it. Got my normal 2% salary increase that year. Thanks Excel. What did the script do? About 10 years ago I applied for a job as a recycling coordinator. Part of the application process was that they left me alone with a laptop to answer the question, how would you improve compliance? So I laid out this idea I had about a PR campaign. I didn't get the job. But about 6 months later they rolled out a campaign that was exactly what I had proposed. I'm still waiting to serve cold revenge to the asshole director of that department. There probably was no job. Costs $3,000 to do a phony job search, costs $30,000 to hire a half-assed consulting firm. Helped design significant portions of a multi-million-dollar renovation, just to have my name scrubbed in a fit of office politics. I discovered the first recorded evidence of a blacksmith's forge in a major, literally world-famous, Roman site. I was uncredited as I was working as part of an unpaid archaeological student excavation team. I had a professor do something similar, though not with quite as cool of a subject, or as important. They published a paper based on my work and refused to mention me either as a contributor, or their assistant, since I was not a grad student, just taking the class as an elective in my minor. Designed my school's logo in an after-school logo designing class back in 7th grade. They just used it without ever telling me. Logo designing class, more like give us free intellectual property class. My college senior design class requires students to sign over project IP to the school. Then the professor had the gall to reject any projects he didn't think were innovative enough to get bought by Google. I helped raise and take care of my niece and nephew for many years. I decided that I couldn't stay in my mother's religion anymore and left it when I was 19. They were no longer allowed to speak or have anything to do with me after that. For so many years I changed their diapers, fed them, bathed them, cried with them, rocked them to sleep, cleaned up so much vomit, drove them to and from school, took them to work with me on Bring Your Kid to Work Day, watched cartoons, and it was just all taken away in the blink of an eye. I saw them a few years back at my dad's house. He's not in my mother's religion. They hadn't seen me since they were about 6 or 7 years old and they were both getting ready to graduate high school. They barely remembered who I was and didn't say 2 words to me hardly. It breaks my heart to this day to know that they'll never realize how much I love them. ETA, thank you all for your kind words. They mean a lot, really. 3. Second edit, wow, I woke up and my inbox was full of kind words and support. Thank you guys so much really. And yes, the religion is Jehovah's Witnesses. I originally didn't say anything BC. I didn't want it to come off like I had an agenda. Plus I didn't really think anyone would care that much about my comment. My niece and nephew are both adults now, over 18. Last I heard from my dad, my niece was working at a Sephora in Florida. But I haven't made any attempts to contact them BC. They're both still JWs and I really don't know what they've been told about me over the years. JWs have a strong policy about not associating or communicating with anyone who has been disfellowshipped or disassociated. I did both, so yeah. Anyone can visit /r/xju and get a little more insight into what it's like, or if anyone has questions I didn't answer. Thank you guys again for caring. There was a fire in my apartment building. The old lady who lived in the apartment below mine had fallen asleep smoking, and woke up to her apartment on fire. She got out, but was too shocked to notify anyone else. So, I was the one who noticed it, got my girlfriend at the time out of the place, then ran through knocking on doors and yelling in windows. Everyone got out safe. I sort of voluntarily avoided credit for 2 reasons. First, my girlfriend at the time was recently divorced, but separated for a good amount of time, and she was spending the night, which her parents didn't approve of, being a conservative Catholic family. Second, my local news had seemingly been on a string of interviews where not a single person being interviewed didn't come off as being a yokel/hill person. It was mostly reason 1, but reason 2 was a benefit. The apartment complex thanked me by moving the old lady back into the same apartment, despite her refusing to quit smoking. My lease renewal was coming up, so I noped out then. Also, the only people we told were my parents, and my wonderful mom's reaction was basically, oh, bad _idea_hat would never have done something that heroic. So that's cool, Should have seen that coming. I've been doing the dishes, that's why the sink isn't overflowing. You just use a lot of dishes. I used to work at an exotic car dealership startup. I was just a detailer at the time. We had a meeting to discuss ways to improve cash flow cause we weren't selling enough cars. I had the idea of using the empty front parking lot of about 30 spaces to sell cheaper cars like Mercedes/BMW/Audi etc. They shot that idea straight out of the sky. I was eventually fired for not caring about the business. 1 year later, and guess what they are doing? In fact, they're not even selling exotics anymore. Just used cars. What does caring about the business even mean? Sounds more like a fancy way of forcing employees to skip breaks and work non-paid overtime cause these employees care for the business. I was 18 and on holiday with my girlfriend in Italy. We just arrived in Rome, having flown in and caught a train to Termini station. We stop in a park not far from the station to take a break and have some food before finding our hostel. We're both quite tired, so my girlfriend starts napping in the sun and I'm lounging out too, occasionally shutting my eyes. After enjoying the sun for 20 minutes or so, I open my eyes to see a man walking away from us but quite close by, then think to myself that that's quite strange because I hadn't heard him at all. I look around and immediately realize my girlfriend's handbag is gone. I jump up and run after the man, who I now see is wearing a big coat and is clearly in a hurry to leave. I shout after him and manage to catch up before he gets out of the park and grab his arm, spin him around and wrestle the handbag from underneath his coat. He runs off and, not particularly wanting to start a whole thing, I decide to leave it and return to my girlfriend with her handbag containing her passport, mobile phone and holiday money. Amazingly, she had slept through the whole event, so I woke her up, told her what had just happened and that I had essentially just saved the entire holiday. Her response? Nothing. Not a thanks, not even to this day. About 8 years on and several girlfriends later, this still annoys me. TLDR, chased a thief to save my girlfriend's passport, mobile and holiday money from being stolen in Rome. Never thanked me. Edit, Dan. KS for all the high fives, feeling heroic. Not sure about brave. It was more of a reaction, and if I had time to consider that he might have been carrying a weapon, I may not have gotten so close. I hadn't really considered she might not have believed me, and it's definitely possible she was still half asleep and didn't really understand what I was on about. Also, the holiday was still an amazing time, but 2 weeks abroad is hard work on a young relationship. More edit. Obviously we are both very stupid for falling asleep in a park in a city with all our luggage. I believe I was the first to remove the border on the Commodore 64, shared the code freely with my friends, only to discover that my friend would post it as his own in a code competition in a magazine back in the early 80s. That's my first taste of treason and humanity. Edit, thanks for the gilding, much appreciated. That little shit. Props to you though, the real MVP. About 20 years ago, my engine company, fire department, went to an arson call. Somebody stuck burning paper inside somebody's apartment door mail slot. The fire didn't take hold and it became more of a police department scene. Just before left the scene, the mentally unstable tenant, who was suspected of the arson, grabbed a rifle and charged past us. He was running toward police that were headed downstairs about a floor below. My captain and I grabbed him and subdued him until the police came back and disarmed him. The police department never thanked us for nor acknowledged our actions that night. I'm sure they were embarrassed that they didn't properly clear and secure the apartment. I doubt it was ever mentioned in any report, and it chaps my ass a bit that it's probably because of pride. But of course I'm glad we were able to help and would definitely do it again. I wrote a paper for our senior year. My partner did nothing, except screwing things up and writing like an infant. We won the award for the best paper at graduation. He was the only one mentioned and got the award because he got 0,5 more points on his oral exam. Edit, the award was a 300 shopping cart. I am rather salty. Edit, this comment can be seen as a TLDR of the whole story. There was some serious duckery involved. In like 5th or 6th grade, my reading class was doing Greek myths and fables like Odysseus and Perseus. We had to choose between like 6 projects. Most kids chose easy ones like read a book, do a cutout or report, or glue paper on paper, really easy busy work. I chose one where we had to make a throne for one of the gods. So I spent the entire weekend building a badass throne for Hades. I liked skeletons and edgy stuff. Took me a long time and a bunch of paint, styrofoam and dollar store arts and crafts to make a throne that really expressed what Hades was all about. I then took a skeleton guy from the budget Halloween area and put him on the throne. Presentation time came around. Even though my throne was bomb diggity, I am awkward and got a C on the speaking portion. Whatever, it's the throne that was mainly interested in. I never got the throne back. It was used to display in the library, which is cool and all, but I was never told that, and as far as the random kid knew, it was nameless cuss there was never any made by stickers on it. So my hard-worked art was shoved on display with no real credit on it for like half the school year, and when I got it back, the kids who passed by ducked with it and it was missing bits and pieces and the entire skeleton was gone. Ducking public school. Got an A on the throne, which averaged the grade to a B. But if I just did the easy flip books or whatever it was, I would have gotten the same grade because the dumb girl who sat near me got a bet R grade for trash that took her like 10 minutes to do. I saved a girl's life once. We were at a concert and there was a giant pond thing to swim in. There was a floating plank thing in the middle that everyone would play King of the Hill on. Anyway, this girl got stuck under it and was drowning, and I was the only one to notice, so I pulled her out. I wonder how she's doing from time to time. Edit: I may have read the question wrong, because I never expected any recognition from this. I just did what was right and it made me feel really good. Being a volunteer firefighter in a department that never once held post-incident powwows to go over the goods, the bads, and the emotions of the crew. It's hard to never hear you did a great job, but it's even harder when you truly thought you did your best but still went home feeling guilty for not being able to do more. I'm 10 years out of that firehouse and was recently told it would be closed and consolidated with another local house. I hope someone can figure out how to properly manage the people that are putting their lives and mental state on the line for nothing more than a thank you. I caught a sexual predator who had been successful and the police were hunting for. He asked me to suck his dick when I was 9 or 10. After telling him no thanks, I followed him till he parked and wrote down his license plate number. Probably not the smartest move in retrospect. 10-year-old you is badass. Back in 2009 I used to work in social media development and I came up with a simple idea. What if we had a special slot for a new photo we asked people to take, with them having the site name and their username written on a piece of paper? We can give them a little verified green check mark if they do it. I think a few sites had done verification back then, but it was mostly pertaining to a verified email address. We had a Philippine admin team just checking photos on the back end, so they were all manually approved. So yeah, in my most modest fantasies, I like to think that I helped that check mark become the standard you see now. When I was just out of high school, my dad was having some alcohol issues. I lived with my boyfriend, was going to college full-time, and worked full-time. I'd drive the hour to my dad's house to stock his fridge once a week. I paid his utilities for him for almost 2 years. I endured drunken 2 a.m. phone calls during this time. I decided to take a semester off, to get ahead on money, and didn't go back. After about 2 years of this, my dad got a DUI and quit drinking. Flash forward 10 years. My little brother and sister are 10 and 12 years younger than me, and are just beginning college. Our dad pays their tuition, their apartment rent, visits them to take them out to eat, and sends them cash every week. And jokes with me that maybe one of them will get their degree and do something with their lives. It was absolutely my choice to do everything that I did, but some acknowledgement of my help would be great. Edit: I honestly didn't expect this to get any attention, and here I have gold. Thank you everyone for your thoughts and commentary from both sides. As bitter as this post sounds, I try not to hold this against my dad. He was going through a bad time. We have a good relationship now. I've never talked to him about it because I don't want him to feel bad about something he can't change. It sucks, but it's over with now. It was very cathartic to write it all out. Thank you so much to my giver of gold and to everyone who shared with me. A lot of people on my course in college left all their coursework to the last minute for the whole year. I'm talking 1 week before the deadline. Most people still had the first assignment to finish, so I stayed from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day that last week, including on my birthday, to help them out. Some of them even got distinctions when they would have been disqualified without me, and yet the next year rolls round and not one credited me for helping them, and most got openly hostile if I suggested that I did help them. I actually donated my bone marrow to a totally random woman and, from what I'm told, directly saved her life. I asked the registry people if I could call and check on her or send a card or something, but apparently she's refused to have any contact with the donor, me. I don't ever bring it up in real life because if you donate and talk about it, I think it somewhat negates the meaning of the act itself. But, yeah. Nobody actually knows I did that, and the one woman who does, for some reason, refuses to have contact with me. Edit. Thank you guys for all of the kind words and even a sub. You guys have given me some new perspectives on this. I'm just really happy to have been able to donate, and I guess all there is left to do is send kind thoughts and positive vibes toward the woman I donated to. Thank you for the gold. The replies I've gotten on this comment remind me how great of a community Reddit can be. You guys are great. Dealing with my nutjob mother all these years. What I'm saying, oh, this situation isn't really that bad. It just takes a bit of patience. What I'm thinking, I deserve to be ducking canonized for this shit. I'm a little bitter about it. I leveraged my centers of influence to secure my company a booth at a 3-day convention for free. The value was $1,800. I spent 3 days there, got new clients and ended up closing a bunch of new business over the next month as a result of the convention. My boss took all the credit for getting us in the convention and she only attended it for a few hours on one of the days. Thanks for listening to another episode of Reddit X. Subscribe and activate the notification bell so you won't miss any stories. Feel free to share your own stories below in the comments. Have a good day.